Hi developers, once again this is Ron Gilbert and welcome back to OneCodeCamp. In today's video episode, we're going to talk about the GET request in the context of REST API. We're also going to demonstrate how to retrieve all articles and a single article from our database. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting from this point, setting up our API will be much easier since most of the setup is already done when we created our schema, controller, router, and server file. In this video, let's start by getting all of the documents or data inside our database. To do this, let's go back to our article controller.js file. In our previous video, we have created this create article controller function and exported this function. This time, let's create a controller to get all articles from our database. Let me just add a comment. This will be get all articles. Now let's create this controller or a function in a constant variable and let's name this get articles. Let us then add an equal sign, and since this function is asynchronous, let's add async. This is followed by an open and closing parentheses. After that, let's create an arrow function. Our server class, I think there is just a minor error here. There should be no letter H in our async syntax. Now let's go back to our open and closing parentheses. This function will handle two parameters, and that is the request and the respond. The next thing that we're going to do is to perform an asynchronous operation and place it inside a constant variable. So let's name it articles. This is then followed by an equal sign, and since this function is asynchronous, we will use await. The async keyword that we use in here allows us to use the await syntax to use in our operation. After this, we will retrieve our data using our article model. So let us use article. This is then followed by a .find. Since this is a method, it is followed by an open and closing parenthesis. Inside this opening and closing parenthesis, we're going to place an opening and closing curly brackets. This indicates that we're going to select or find all documents. This is then followed by a .sort. That means to say that we're going to sort all of the documents that we have retrieved. This is followed by an opening and closing parenthesis and curly brackets. Now, since we're going to sort our document, we're going to use the code created at. This is followed by a colon and the value of -1. This means that we're going to sort our field in descending order. This basically also means that the most recently created document or article will appear first in the articles array. After this, we will send the response status back to the client side. This is then followed by an opening and closing parenthesis and the status, which is 200. After this, we're going to send back the articles in a JSON format, so we're going to use that JSON. Then we will just simply pass the articles inside this opening and closing parenthesis. And we are actually done creating our get articles controllers. So what we're going to do next is we're going to export this get articles controllers function using the export method. To do that, we will just simply add get articles inside this module.exports statement. Let us just wait for the server to start and see if there are any errors. Finally, now that we are done creating and exporting this get articles function controller, the next thing that we're going to do is proceed to this router that we have created, article routers, and import this into this file. Now let's proceed in the line number 2 and let us add get articles inside this import statement. After that, let's create a router for our get articles. For this, we will just simply use our router, but instead of using .post, we will use .get this time. Again, this will handle one argument, which is the path, and one function parameter, which is the get articles. This is also the same function parameter that we have imported here in line number 2. We are now all set in our GetArticles API and our server is up and running with no errors. So let us now try this article API using our Postman. But first, let us check our MongoDB database. Remember that in our previous video, we have created a single data and we can see that by clicking this browse collection button. And we can see it right here, there is just one single document or one data in our database. Now let's proceed back to Postman and let's create more data in order for us to demonstrate that there are multiple datas in our document. Let us just create simple article 2 and change the author. Now let us click the send button to send this post request to the database, effectively creating this new data in our document. Now let's create another one. Again, let us send this post request to save this data. Now let's proceed back to MongoDB to see if these data are successfully saved into our database. Let us just refresh this page to see our updated collection. And there we have it. Right now, we have successfully created 3 data or document into our database. Now let's proceed back to Postman and perform a get operation to retrieve all of this document that we have here in our MongoDB database. Let us just first save this API post request. Now let's create a new request. Let us change this post request operation to a get request operation. Our API composition will still be the same. It will be localhost, 4000, API, and articles. Now let us send this get request. And there we have it. Using our API endpoint, we have successfully retrieved all of our collection of article data in our database. Now that we have successfully performed a get all operation, let us try retrieving a single document inside this collection of database. For this, let's proceed back to our VS Code. At this point, we can also see the logs of the request path and the request method in our terminal. This is made possible because if we're going to go back here in the server.js file that we have created here a middleware that logs the request path and the request method. Now let's proceed in creating our API endpoint for retrieving a single data from our database. As usual for this, we're going to go back to the article controller.js to create the function expression controller. Let us just add a comment for this one. Now let's create a function expression and let's name this getArticle. Let us add an equal sign and an async keyword because this process is asynchronous. This is then followed by an opening and closing parenthesis and an arrow function. Again, this will handle 2 parameters, the request and the response. For this, we're going to deconstruct the request parameter object in order for us to extract the ID. This, we will just simply use const, followed by an opening and curly braces, and inside this, an ID. This simply means that we would like to destructure a parameter object. After this, let us assign request and the params property. What we would like to achieve here is we would like to capture the ID in our URL. At this point, the first thing that we're going to do is to check the captured ID if it is valid. MongoDB uses a special data type called object ID to represent unique identifiers for documents, and a valid MongoDB object must meet a certain criteria. A sample of this criteria is the length, which tells us the character should be 24 characters long, and the ID should be in hexadecimal format, or 0 to 9 and A to F. For this one, let us just simply create a conditional statement. For the condition, we will start with an exclamation mark and the mongoose keyword. This is then followed by types. This provides various schema types including object ID, so let's use that object ID. We will then use isValid to check if the variable is a valid object ID. Now we will pass this ID that we have extracted into this method. After that, let's assign a response status 404 and a JSON response indicating that the article is not found. Now, if this is a valid ID, the next thing that we're going to do is to fetch this data with this ID. Now, let's create another function assignment statement and let's name this article. Again, we will use await. The next step that we're going to do is to use the article model and to use the find by ID method. Let us pass in the ID into this method. And as a final touch for this function controller, let us check if the article exists. Let us just add a comment, check if the article exists. To do that, we will simply just use a conditional statement. For the condition, we will just simply use exclamation mark followed by the article. This basically just check if the variable is falsy. If the variable is empty, it will satisfy our condition. So let's return a response status 404 and a JSON error message article not found. But if the article variable has a value, let's send the response status to 100 and let's send back the article in a JSON format. We will just simply pass this article. That should be in here. Let us just wait for the server to automatically restart to see if there are any errors. Finally, since there are no any errors, let us now export this article function. Let us just add get article in here. Now that we are done in our article controller, let us now proceed to our article routes. For this one, we're still going to use the router and the get method. This time, for the path, we're going to add :id. Let us also import our getArticle function coming from the controller. Then let's simply pass it here. And that's it, we are now done in our controller and router. We can now proceed back to the Postman to test our API. Using our API, we're going to retrieve a single data coming from this data that we have in this collection. Let me just say this API endpoint that we have created a while ago. Now, if you remember, we're going to retrieve a data using an ID from our collection, so let's copy one of these ID. Then let us paste the ID in here. Finally, to send this GET request, let's click the button Send. And there we have it, we have successfully fetched a single document from our database. And that's a wrap up for this video. In this video, we have covered the essentials of GET request, showing you how to retrieve all articles and fetch a single article from our database. If you find this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your developer friends. Thanks for joining with us today, and once again, this is Ron Gilbert, and we hope to see you again in our next video. Happy coding and see you next time.